Following La Trobe's panel discussion with Nick Del Santo on men's mental health, this Thursday, the 14th of September, La Trobe is promoting the Are You OK Day. We spoke to Josh Marsden and Lil Kennedy about what a day like this means to La Trobe for staff and students.
And I came into the university in terms of looking at how to build a community that is respectful and inclusive. And I've kind of looked at that from kind of three different lenses. One is about respecting me or respecting each other. And the other is respecting culture, everyone's culture, and the other one is about health, and they all kind of link together. And so in the first year, Josh and myself got together and thought this is something that's not just about students or staff, it's about students. And so can we work together to promote Are You OK and talk about suicide and try to prevent it, because we know it is preventable by having meaningful conversations.
One of the great things about Are You OK Day is it does simplify the mental health message. You don't need to be an expert to find out if somebody's okay and then successfully guide them to support. Just by having that meaningful conversation can lead them towards providing the help they need.
So what can we expect to see on the day?
Here in the Agora and in the other campuses, there's some events for students and staff, but the key thing often is around the messaging. You know, how do you have that conversation and encourage people to know that the four kind of steps, we call it, and which is ask, listen, take action, encourage the person to take action, and then follow up.
Eden Hennanen, reporting for La Trobe Live.
Welcome back, everybody. We're now joined by Alessandra and Sally. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Now, would you like to tell us a little bit about your roles here at La Trobe?
Yeah, I'm a Senior Disability Advisor with the Equity and Diversity Centre. My role is to support students with mental health issues, ongoing illnesses or disabilities to help them progress successfully. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just a third year undergrad student. I'm currently studying a Bachelor of Psychological Science, and I'm also the current president of the Psych Society.
Nice.
That's cool.
So guys, what is the significance about Are You OK Day?
I think Sally and I were actually just having a good conversation about this before. It's kind of about like striking meaningful conversations with your peers. And, you know, especially if you're identifying that they're kind of struggling a bit. And I think it's very, very important, because we were saying how even like a small conversation can cascade into something where it's like very beneficial for them and very helpful and very effective, because if we think like it's very underestimated when you see a friend struggling and you just say, you know, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And not even just between like friends, but you know, between staff members and work and even just other people.
Yeah, reaching out to people, connecting. Yeah. And then that makes it the person who is struggling feel they're engaged more. Yeah.
I completely agree with that, because sometimes I might not be having the best day at work and then I'll just get that one customer and they're lovely and it's just their personality just makes your day.
And it makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, what are some of the events that you guys will be running here at La Trobe over the course of the week?
Well, there's a lot going on, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a few things.
And it's all happening in the ag.
Yeah.
So we've got a Jenga game.
Connect 4, free massages.
Yeah.
There'll be some stalls there, so Psych Society will be there, counselling service will be there, I think Student Development Advisory will be there.
Yeah, and Wellbeing. Yeah,
and Headspace Glen Roy will be there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So there'll be some kind of like external, we've got Headspace coming in.
Yeah.
For kind of like a professional outlook on the issue as well.
Just sharing that with students as well, because it's a very reachable service among the ones that we have here at La Trobe, which is really important to share.
Cool.
Could you plug some of those services for us?
Yeah, sure. There's the counselling unit, very important part of student wellbeing. Actually, the stats that came up recently, since January, we've had 1,500 students present to the counselling unit for support, which is a considerable number, isn't it? Yeah. And students with equity and diversity who have registered with us with a mental health issue or ongoing health concern or disability. At the Bandura campus, we've had 1,287 students register with us this year. And our stats show that 62% of those students actually have a mental illness or mental health difficulty that's impacting on their studies. So it's a very high number.
Yeah, very high percentage.
Mm.
So Are You OK Day, these events and stuff that are going down tomorrow, they're for anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone can just come
Yeah.
along, check it out.
Of course, there'll be free food, just FYI.
Oh, look,
But no,
now
definitely
you
for
plugged
everyone.
that. Like, you're going to get too many
Always,
people here.
always,
too many.
always.
And so, like, you said before that La Trobe has, like, a counselling service and things like that. How do people, like, go about getting involved in that? Or if they're struggling, how do they, like, seek out help? Like, what's the best way to go?
Good question. There is a website they can go to. There's a student wellbeing website, so they can investigate options there. They can just turn up. They can turn up. There's always a drop-in session at the counselling unit here at Bandura at 1:45. There's a Actually, I think it's 1:45. But there's a drop-in session, and there's also the opportunity to just present and make an appointment if they feel like they need to have assistance from a counsellor. Similarly, with Equity and Diversity, we have a drop-in session every day where students can come in for a half an hour appointment to just find out about our services and see if they're eligible for support, and that's between 1 and 2. So there'll always be someone to speak with them during that time. Otherwise, they can make an appointment. Yeah.
Awesome. So for advice, if you see a mate struggling or, you see like one of your work colleagues and you're not really sure what's going on, what's the best way to approach that situation?
Well, are we talking about those 4 questions?
Yeah, no, it's definitely something very unique and very dependent sometimes on the situation or the person you're talking to. But I think that it's like just asking them how they're feeling and listening to what they say in return. I think listening is a very key part as well. Engaging with them as well. Yeah, Sally, do you have anything?
And following through with them to make sure that they have connected in with some support, especially if they're really very seriously unwell and there's a risk of suicide. I think those are you okay questions are critical. Because, statistically, 8 people commit suicide in Australia, which is just shocking.
Yeah,
Just in our
makes you a bit
country
squeamish.
Yeah, and 39 attempt suicide on a daily basis. So that's just shocking
It's
statistics.
horrible.
Yeah. So, and then 1 in 3, I guess 1 in 3 young people between the age of 15 and 24 experience a mental illness, and that's our population largely, isn't it? Our student population.
Yeah.
So that's a very large cohort of people that we need to be looking out for and supporting.
Yeah, so even just reaching out and asking if there's anything just concerning them or anything they're thinking about that they can share or talk about, and showing them that that's at a very comfortable space and that you want to listen and you want to help. Because, it can just make such a difference to let them know that they have some support or someone that they can turn to, because often people that resort to attempts or to those mindsets feel like they don't have anyone to talk to, or there's that stigma or barrier that stops them from approaching someone, whether it's just a friend or a health professional. So we just think that just having that conversation in a non-judgmental, open way can be very, very helpful. Very helpful.
Yeah, we all slide into our deep and meaningfuls with our friends and stuff like that all the
Yes,
time.
yeah.
It can go from a one-on-one over lunch to 3 o'clock in the morning. You've had a big night and you just want to tell everyone that you love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's really important to normalise it and to have those conversations.
Yeah.
I think I had a wonderful experience recently where a young bloke did disclose he was really struggling and he needed support, and I was linking him into the various services, and he came back and said it was such a positive experience for him that he actually told one of his mates who he also knew was really, really struggling at the time, and also linked him in to the services that La Trobe offer. And I think from his perspective, he was saying sometimes it's really difficult for blokes to say that they're not okay, And we were talking about, you know, you don't walk around with a broken arm, do you?
Yeah.
You do something
Try to
about
fix
it.
Yeah.
And you talk about the pain that you're experiencing, that's for sure. But
But when it's
just,
mental health, it's talked about differently.
Yeah. And there are
Or
particular
it's more like
groups.
secretive.
Yeah, and
Because
there are
it's like you don't know what's going on
You
inside.
can't see it.
no.
Yeah.
And so we do need to be having these conversations with one another. Yeah.
Especially when suicide is one of the biggest killers in aged 15 to 24-year-olds.
Yeah.
Do you think that because students fall into that age bracket, is it the pressure of studying, of trying to like meet deadlines and exams, does that contribute to it at all?
I don't know. I think the study experience over the years has changed dramatically. You know, from 20, 30 years ago, university life was very different, and the expectations of students' responsibilities, both within the university context and outside students' responsibility. I mean, they're paying, they've got to work, they've got caring
It can be
responsibilities.
very overwhelming.
There's a lot going on for a student. And also the university environment, the learning environment has changed, hasn't it? It's just this sort of mass education and this blended learning, and there's more of a sense of isolation that can occur if they're not linked in with friendship groups, sports clubs.
So it may not be the main contributor, but it definitely can have an effect on a student, especially if they're very vulnerable, or if there's other external things that they're taking in as well, and internalising.
Yeah, and that's where it's really important that they get the added support, I think, that the university can offer, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got the statistics that 1,500 students reached out to counselling services here at La Trobe, Bandura. Like, that a good number? You want to get more? Like, what's the go there?
Well, it's a very high number.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it will increase. I mean, it's a good indication that people are seeking help, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, as you said before, like with sporting teams and friend groups and stuff like that, like I know that I do cheerleading for La Trobe.
Yeah.
And I've got 78 athletes or something in my club who are just like the best people. And it makes a hell of a difference to just like have people that you see like, like every night, or like you see like every second night that you can go up to, you can chat to, and it doesn't matter like what you're chatting to, it's all good. So like I know where you're coming from when you say like, people who aren't, very sociable, or people who aren't like seeking something that like gets them out and gets them doing things. You can get left in a real like dark and lonely place when it's just uni and work.
And sometimes
repetitiveness is terrible.
And sometimes even university, students may not have a lot of contact hours.
Yeah.
So there's that sense of isolation that if they're not engaged in a sporting club or other activities, they're becoming more and more disengaged, and they feel more isolated, and it's just them. They're the only person that's experiencing this.
Adds on to that feeling and that risk of succumbing to a mental illness, or just even not feeling 100%, because that can affect their own like approach to what's going on. So like if you're kind of feeling isolated or struggling to connect with other students, because you go to one class and you go to a lecture, then you have another class, and it's hard to stay in contact with those students if you're not so thoroughly engaged and stuff like that. It can just lead to like, I don't really want to talk to anyone, or I don't want to speak to someone for help, because it just makes it even more secluded and within themselves, so they try and deal it with themselves. So even like just it's connecting with people and just even having a conversation. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to tell your life story, but even just connecting with other people can be so nice.
I think what's really critical too is, even though there's a lot of information online, to really make the effort of coming to university and being involved in whatever is happening is so important, because I find that students who are struggling or and they don't attend perhaps, the first couple of sessions, then they feel they can't attend because they didn't, and then they feel more self-conscious or anxious about becoming engaged. And there's
left out almost of like group projects.
And that's such a negative thing. So, I would really encourage students to just be active, come to your tutorials, enjoy what you're paying for. Try to anyway.
Yeah.
So the take-home message here really is connect with your peers,
Yeah.
try and get involved in as much as you can. And is there anything else that you guys wanted to add?
I think, I guess we need to sort of, make sure that the students are aware that there are services like this, the counselling service, equity and diversity. There's also the Speak Up program for students and staff, for the students who are concerned about unacceptable behaviours, bullying, intimidation. They may need some assistance to navigate conversations about how to deal with this. The Speak Up program is there for anybody that has these concerns, and there's a number on the website, but it's 9479 8988.
Yeah.
There's also support for staff, the Employment Assistance Program, so that's an important program for staff, and that's a free program. It's short term, it's work related or problems with family or friends, so that there's those services, and there's also the external services, aren't there, Ali?
Like Headspace is a really accessible and affordable service for young people between the ages of 12 to 25, and they also do have a range of other services for the LGBT group, for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. So it's a very accepting and equitable society and group that's really important, and even just engaging with your GP and with other friends and mentors, maybe family members as well, because just even having that conversation, they themselves might say, I know that this might help, or this, and it even can be just educating yourself, or hearing from other people what's worked for them, what's helped them. So that could be like meditation, that could be, exercise, yoga, trying to have a healthy diet. And that's what's so important, is that it's not just one thing. It's so many different factors that contribute to your well-being, both physical, mental, emotional, and it's just so important to engage in that conversation, because if you're finding support and stuff like that, you learn so much about yourself, about other things that's like, I never thought of that before, or I never took this perspective before, because that's also really, really beneficial, is that when you speak to other people, often they give their opinions, they give their advice, and they open your mindset to something that you maybe didn't even think about before. So then that just has that effect as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
And I think because we're focusing on Are You OK Day and preventing suicide, those 4 questions,
So asking...
listen without judgment.
Yeah, encourage action.
And check in.
Yeah.
Those 4 points, yeah.
Awesome.